Hey guys, Jessica here and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm participating in the mega blog hop put on by Pear Blossom Press for their Power Pack release. So Amanda and Micah have been working very hard in organizing this and I'm really happy for them. I think this is such a great product, and if you love light up cards, this will make your life just a little bit easier. So the thing about the Power Packs are they are basically the battery housing, plus they have a button switch. I've gone ahead and I've drawn out the placement of where I want my copper tape to go on a piece of cardstock. And I'm doing this on clear cardstock because this is going to be a see-through light up card. I'm using a bone folder to help get those corners nice and crisp. And I'm also going to use it to help score that copper tape down. That way it's really nicely adhered to that clear cardstock. So the reason why I'm doing clear cardstock and a see-through card is because I was inspired to do this on the first light up card I actually ever made, and I didn't want to mess with it because I didn't like the idea of having that foam tape battery housing with the folded cardstock. That's the old way I used to do the battery switches. So now with the Power Pack, I get to have a bit of that electronic component to this card. And I was inspired by those clear phones from the 90's. They would like light up when somebody called, and they had like clear plastic, and then there was just certain almost random parts that were like different colors of plastic. I never had one, but I always wanted one. I actually had a Slinky phone, which is kind of a whole nother story. But I had a couple friends that had one, or like their older sister had one. So I wanted to turn that into a card somehow. Now that I have the tape placed, I can go ahead and line up my lights. And these lights have a positive and negative symbol on them, just like the Power Pack does. So you're just going to match up those. So the bottom of these lights, the whiter side, is actually the positive. And if you follow that off of the Power Pack, you'll see that I put the longer side of the lights on that line of copper tape. And then the pointy side of the lights is the negative. I'm going to check this as I go. It's just kind of a good idea to keep making sure you haven't disrupted the circuit at all. So much like a shaker card, I'm going to create a foam adhesive border. And this is just to keep the top panel from sitting directly on top of that Power Pack. You could do this a bunch of different ways to have it incorporated into your card design. I'm only removing one side of that adhesive backing because I'm going to keep checking this throughout the card making process, so I don't want anything to stick to the top part of that foam adhesive just yet. The top panel is made out of a frame that I used 2 different rectangle dies and die cut a piece of Simon Says Stamp fog cardstock. This is going to get layered right over a A2 sized clear cardstock piece, and this will sit on top of that foam adhesive once I remove that backing. But like I said, for now I'm going to leave that alone so that they're still 2 separate pieces. Using the Simon Says Stamp wonky cross hatch die, I die cut 2 pieces of Ocean Mist cardstock, and I cut off one section, so I have 2/3 of that crosshatch left. This is going to be like a keypad for a phone. I used some liquid glue and then adhered that to a piece of vellum. So the thing about clear cards is that you do have to do a lot of hiding. So one way I'm going to hide the adhesive on the underneath of that vellum is by placing a piece of cardstock underneath the lights. And this will also help direct the lights so that it diffuses more through the vellum. I did place that circle upside down so that the front side of it is actually facing towards the inside of the card, because you're not going to see that stitching detail really through that vellum, and that way the inside of the card looks a little more finished that way. I added a couple more pieces of that dry adhesive right where the crosshatch lines are, Now I can line that up on that front panel and attach it. You won't see the adhesive through the vellum. I also have these numbers that I use some black cardstock and stick it adhesive. And this is I think a die set from Recollections or something. I'm going to use those as my numbers for my keypad. I also die cut 2 hearts. Those are going to act as my phone symbols, the pound sign, and I don't remember what the other one is. Somebody let me know. But so those are my pound sign and the other sign. I also need to hide the back of the power pack. For that I used 2 other circles. This is slightly smaller than the pink one. I die cut these out of lovely lavender cardstock. And I'm going to glue these circles together and then attach them underneath. That way the stitching shows from the top and on the inside of the card. Also, the circles will serve as a good place to write your message to the recipient. They're kind of smaller, but they will work for that. That's kind of what I was thinking would be the purpose for those. The other piece I have is a really small circle die cut from Apple Mint cardstock. I'm trying to keep with the 90s colors here. And this is just for decoration. I adhered one to the inside and then one to the underside. So to create the actual card base, because so far we've been just working with clear cardstock panels. For the card base, I'm just going to take a pre-cut and scored Nina 110 pound card base. This is my standard card base that I always have on hand. And I'm going to chop off that top about a 1/2 inch below the score line. Now I can add some dry adhesive, that strong dry adhesive, to that little scored flap and attach the bottom layer of the top panel. This is the bottom layer that has all of the power pack and the lights. You want the part that's being adhered to that fold to be the underside. So you want your lights always showing upwards. Now I can peel back all that backing paper on that adhesive foam and adhere the top layer. I do stand up to do this, that way I can get a good overall view. And I'm just going to double check the lights, make sure they're still working. That's the worst part, is when you put something together and then it doesn't work. So I keep checking those throughout. For the inside of the card, I'm going to do some stamping. I have the Simon Says Stamp Amazing stamp set. That's what it's called, Amazing. And it was from one of their latest card kits. I haven't really gotten a chance to use this one, and I thought it would work well with the whole 90s theme. My sentiment's going to say, I totally get you. This is a nice large sentiment with a really cool font. I'm going to use my card to kind of figure out where I want to place this, because I want it hidden so you don't see it from the front side of the card until you open it. So this is going to be situated behind that vellum and that pink circle. And I'm going to stamp that just using some Gina K Malcolm ink, some black ink. Everything else has been so kind of pastel or light colored, which is really odd for me. I'm going to use some other stamps in this set to kind of decorate the inside, and you're going to see portions of this from the front side because it's a see-through card. So I wanted to add some more color and just some more texture. I'm going to place some of the larger circle stamps around the sentiment, and this is going to be some like bold pops of color. I'm keeping in mind the circles that I had already die cut, and I'm using the same ink. So I'm using Gina K paper and Gina K ink. They're all going to just coordinate really well together. It just kind of happened that I had both of the same colors. And then I can use some of the smaller circle stamps. There's a couple different sizes, and I just hand stamp those around the larger circles and the sentiment to get a nice confetti burst of color. For the front sentiments, I'm going to use Simon Says Stamps Tiny Word Set. And this one says, I treasure our friendship. I just stamped that on purple cardstock. It's a dark purple, so it'll help stand out a little bit more. I should have stamped this in white, or I should have heat embossed this in white, I think, but that's okay. I just stamped it with Gina K Amalgam. So I just trimmed down that small sentiment and attached the inside panel. And off screen, I also die cut another frame, much like the one that I used on the front in that fog, in that light gray cardstock, just using 2 different rectangle dies. And I cut that out of white cardstock. So this will hide all of that foam adhesive and the flap for the card base. So now all I have left to do is to add the rest of the front sentiments. I used the Ink Roads Bella Flora Hello die, and I cut that out of some Lemon Drop cardstock and some Fog cardstock. I adhered those together, and then I'm going to attach that right to the center of my keypad. I kind of wish I would have made that glow in the dark now. Alright guys, I'll have all the links to how to purchase these power packs, more information, all of the good stuff is down below in the description box, and also the link to my blog post where you can find the next creator in this mega hop. And here's what it looks like in some dim light. It really lights up. Those LED lights are really bright, and I used 3 of them, so it better be bright. I like the inside. You can see right through, see all that stamping to the inside. And then when you open it up, it still looks clean and you don't see any of those adhesive marks. You can still see right through. I think that power pack looks pretty cool showing through. And I hope my card came off as a 90s clear phone inspired card. Alright guys, that is it from me. I totally thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already. I would love to have you join me for more videos. Go ahead and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. It really does help me out. I appreciate you, and thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to spend with me. I'll see you in the next one. Meh, meh.